Hello, welcome to the Center for Communication Excellence at the Iowa State University Graduate College. This video is part of the Thesis Dissertation Formatting Tutorial Series. In this video, I will explain how to fill in white space in your thesis or dissertation chapters. In the Graduate Student Format SelfCheck Checklist, the body of thesis dissertation chapters section specifies that you are not allowed to have blank space greater than 1/4 of a page. Exceptions to this are at the end of a chapter, in a figure table section, at the end of a chapter in journal article format, or at the end of the document in traditional format, and on landscape pages. If you have tables or figures placed throughout your chapter, chances are that you have some pages within the chapter with too much white space. I'll demonstrate a few strategies for filling in that space to meet the graduate college thesis dissertation format requirements. Strategy 1, reposition the figure or table. This is usually the best option when filling in white space. To do this, you just need to cut and paste. Decide whether it is best to move the figure up or down. You might want to think about where other figures and tables are placed in the chapter. Having too many figures and tables with no body text in between can make the chapter harder to read. It can also cause more large gaps in the chapter. Another consideration is the placement of cross-references to the figure or table that needs to be repositioned. A cross-reference is any place in the body of the manuscript where the figure or table is mentioned. It's generally recommended that any text contain at least one cross-reference to each figure and table in the text. It's okay to place a figure or table before a cross-reference, or to have a subheading between the cross-reference and the figure or table. Generally, try to avoid having more than a page of content between the figure or table and the first cross-reference to it. This makes the figure or table more accessible for the readers. Once you've decided where you will reposition your figure or table, you can use the cut and paste functions in Word to move content around. You can either cut and paste body text or the figure or table with its caption. Paste the content into its new position. If you choose to insert a figure or table in the middle of a body paragraph, be sure that the body text following the figure or table does not have the first line indented. Otherwise, it will seem to be a new paragraph. Strategy 2, resize the figure or table. Resizing the figure or table is recommended only when it is a very small adjustment. Try to avoid resizing content to the extent that it becomes illegible due to being too small or too distorted. If a slight size adjustment is sufficient to remove white space, this option is probably the easiest. To resize a figure, select the figure. Open the Picture Format ribbon. Click the dialog launcher for Picture Size. And make sure Lock Aspect Ratio is checked. Then use the spinner to adjust the height of the picture by 1/10 of an inch at a time until the picture moves onto the desired page. Strategy 3, split the figure or table onto 2 pages. Splitting the figure or table may be the best option if you do not want to reposition it relative to the body text. To split a table, follow the tutorial provided in Thesis and Dissertation Tutorial Part 11, Splitting Tables. To split a figure, follow the tutorial provided in Thesis and Dissertation Tutorial Part 13, Sizing Fonts in Figures and Tables. Start at 6 minutes, 10 seconds. Remember that when splitting figures and tables, you must include a continued caption on each additional page where parts of the figure and table appear. Examples of this format are provided on the CCE Thesis and Dissertation Resources website. Here are some helpful tips to minimize the amount of rework you do with whitespace. First, work on filling in whitespace after you have made most of your other revisions. Adding content such as revisions for a conditional pass can create more places where there is too much whitespace, so plan for this formatting step to be one of your last ones. Second, work from the beginning of the chapter to the end. This will prevent any revisions you make from creating excess whitespace in parts of the document where you've already worked. It also reduces the chances of accidentally deleting important content from your document. Third, use Word's print preview to verify that repositioning the figure or table actually filled in the whitespace. The way pages appear in the main Word interface may differ from how they appear in the PDF version of the file. The print preview shows you what the final version will look like. Finally, don't forget to update your table of contents, list of tables, and list of figures after you reposition tables and figures. Check the format on these preliminary pages to ensure the page numbers populate properly. A useful shortcut in Word is to use Ctrl+A to select all the contents in the file, then F9 to update the dynamic content in the file. This includes renumbering figures and tables, updating dynamic cross-references, and updating the preliminary page lists. Be sure to press F9 twice, as pressing it once can cause the preliminary page lists to show incorrect information. This is because the program sweeps through the document from beginning to end, so updates to figures and tables in the document chapters are not reflected in the preliminary pages. This is the end of the Filling in Whitespace tutorial. Please view other available video tutorials to learn more about formatting your thesis or dissertation using the Word template.